Everybody, Coach Brandon here, co-owner of STL Boot Camp, lead trainer, nutritionist, all that good stuff. Just want to introduce myself for those who may be new to the program. A lot of you, this may be repeat information because you've done challenges previously before, but just welcome everybody. Excited to get this 8-week challenge up and rolling. I'm going to go through some bullet points here to cover some information to get you guys ready to roll and have a great and successful challenge, okay? This is an 8-week challenge. The past 3 challenges that we've done, this is our 4th one as STL Boot Camp. The past 3 have been 6-week challenges. I like 6-week time frame because it's a little bit shorter. And I seem to keep everybody's attention span a little bit better during those 6 weeks. But this last challenge we did, everyone did so well during the 6 weeks. A lot of people were interested in going a touch further, and I really think there's no better time to do that than the start of January. There's less interruptions, there's less holidays, there's less vacations. So if we are going to go for 8 weeks, this is the time to do it. So I'm really excited about it. But just to fill you in a little bit of what these 8 weeks are going to entail. This will be a macro-based challenge. Now, obviously, the challenge incorporates boot camps and exercise as well, but nutrition is what we're really going to zone in on. For those that aren't familiar, macros can be an overwhelming term that people hear. They don't quite understand it. All we're going to do is we're going to take your protein, fat, and carbohydrates that you eat every day, and we're going to monitor them. We're going to give you certain specific goals to hit or to stay within to keep you achieving progress. Now, macro means large nutrients. So again, that's your protein is a large nutrient, fat, and carbohydrates. Now, people are used to counting calories. This is a very detailed way of counting calories. So instead of just counting calories, you could eat, 1,200 calories of nothing but carbohydrates. You're not going to have a very successful challenge because you're not going to be getting the adequate amount of protein and fat that your body needs for fuel and to be able to repair. So if we can structure them a little bit more than just counting calories, you'll be much more successful. And I have found this with working with hundreds, if not thousands of individuals, and this is why we go this route. It's a little overwhelming at first. It's going to be a learning curve for week 1 and week 2. You're going to figure things out. Then after that, once you stay consistent with it and keep trying to figure it out, you'll be smooth sailing after that. I promise that. You can even ask anybody who's done previous challenges, once they figure out the macros and the MyFitnessPal and all that fun stuff. It's not as bad as it sounds, and it's actually the most flexible meal planning and nutrition that you can do. Because again, life happens. It's crazy. We have, ups and downs and things that happen that we're not expecting, so then it throws us off track. This is the easiest way to stay on track and stay consistent, so that's why we go with this program. But back to the macros, and as far as a calorie standpoint, you will get a set amount of calories, but the macros always equal the calories. So for instance, 1 gram of carbohydrate, whether it's from sugar, whether it's from bread, pasta, 1 gram of carbohydrate is always 4 calories, okay? 1 gram of protein, whether it comes from a protein shake, a piece of chicken, 1 gram of protein is always 4 calories. And then 1 gram of fat, whether it comes from extra virgin olive oil, avocado, butter, 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. That's why fat gets a bad rap, because it's calorically dense compared to the protein and the carbohydrates. But when we give you a specific amount, so say you may get 120 grams of protein, you may get 65 grams of carbohydrates, and you may get 45 grams of fat. That's going to be your macros for the day. And the idea is if you hit those numbers or stay within those numbers, you're always going to be under on your calories. So therefore, we stay at a deficit, but we bring in the quality of foods, the proper amount of foods and protein and stuff to reserve our muscle tissue. That way we can continue keeping that metabolic rate high, and that's kind of the idea behind that. Again, I know I'm throwing a lot of terms out at you guys, but I just want you to get a grasp on where this is coming from. This isn't just like, oh, we're going to do, an 8-week of meal plans, eat these meals. Everybody's completely different. Everybody's going to have different macros, and we're going to progress you depending on how you progress. So again, it's very individualized. Share with your coach about some specific goals you may have. Now, again, I know a lot of people come in here and they want to lose weight, and that's their priority. But we want you internally healthy first, and then we want to see the weight fall off as a byproduct of you being internally healthy first. So that is our procedure that we take in regards of your macros and this challenge. you, as your body shifts and as you have different weigh-ins and scans throughout this challenge, your macros will shift, your calories will shift. Because if we're dropping, 1 to 2 pounds a week and that body's shifting and doing well, we don't want to give it the same amount of calories it had when you were 5 pounds heavier, because that's what it took to sustain that body. As your body is shifting and changing, we need to change those macros as well. So depending on how you progress, you're going to have some weeks you just don't do well, you don't keep up with nutrition, we fall off the wagon a little bit. That's fine. We just won't progress you to our next stage. We'll keep you where you're at until you do progress, and then we'll move forward from there. So that's how we will work with your progression. Again, this is not a meal plan, guys. This is freedom to eat what you want. In theory, and don't run with this, okay? In theory, if you stay within your macros, you can technically eat McDonald's and you'll lose weight. You're not going to be healthy. You're not going to be healthy, and I don't advise doing that. But the idea is that, if you all of a sudden you're out and the family's running around for ball games or practice or whatever it is, and you haven't eaten and you're absolutely starving, and the family has to swing by McDonald's because there's nothing ready at the house, make the best decision you possibly can. We'll have some videos, some tips and tricks and hacks and stuff for decisions to make when you're in those situations. But you can technically eat it. Just log it. Make sure you count it so your coach can see it, to see if maybe we do have a stall for the week, maybe if that factored into it. But that should give you an idea of how macros work and be able to fit different foods in. Now, again, we're going to give you a list of whole foods, healthy foods, and the more you stay with those foods, the better you're going to feel. But as long as you stay within your guidelines, if you do have to go out and eat something you typically wouldn't eat, or it's not as healthy as you would like, we'll still be able to make progress and it won't throw us off the wagon. So I hope that makes sense. You'll have additional habits throughout the day that we think factor into your progress. So you'll have a little checklist on your Trainerize app. One of that will be, or the first one will be what's called AM hydration. It's going to say 12 to 16 ounces of water. This is first thing in the morning. Now, I'm not anti-coffee. I'm not anti-caffeine, as I load up on it myself. But the problem is a lot of us don't realize that we're very dehydrated throughout the day. Even if you're drinking adequate amount of water throughout the day, you wake up dehydrated. We're breathing throughout the night. We lose a ton of moisture when we sleep. Then we wake up, and instead of reaching for that glass of water, we reach for a cup of coffee or an energy drink, which isn't necessarily bad, but caffeine is a diuretic. So technically, even though there's water in it, it technically dehydrates us, and we don't really absorb any of that water. So not only do we wake up dehydrated, then we have a caffeinated beverage that dehydrates us even more. So then we're playing catch up the rest of the day. Wake up in the morning, have 12 to 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning, then get your coffee or your workout in or whatever it is that you do. But consistently doing that, guys, you will notice a drastic difference throughout the day. Along with water, your goal is going to be 100 ounces a day. I know a lot of people talk about a gallon and stuff like that. I think that's a little excessive for most people. 100 ounces, I think, is right where the sweet spot is. Now, by water, I mean water. No other liquid counts. Coffee doesn't count. The only thing I would let technically count with that is if you did some kind of electrolyte mix, because all you're doing to that water is enhancing the minerals. You're not adding additional, calories or anything like that. But I like to stay away from Crystal Lights. I like to stay away from Mio. Not necessarily stay away from it, but at the same time, I don't count that towards my water intake. So 100 ounces of just straight up water. Then the goal is to sit there and hit 4 boot camps or workouts a week, which you can all track through Trainerize. The more, the better. And then the last task you'll see on your list is intermittent fasting. Now, I will have a separate video that comes out about intermittent fasting to break it down. I don't believe intermittent fasting is for everybody. I've done it myself. I do it occasionally. I believe in it, but it depends on your lifestyle. It depends on how often you train. It depends on what you have going on, whether it's going to be beneficial for you or not. I believe it's beneficial, but sometimes depending on your schedule, you're somebody who works out at 5 a.m. in the morning and then you're working all day and then you're running around with kids in the evening. It is not feasible for you to have a very short window time of eating because you've got to fuel yourself throughout that excessively long day. So then intermittent fasting isn't something that you should work towards. But again, I'll have a video that breaks that down a little bit more. So that's why you'll see on your task, it says intermittent fasting and then optional. So that's kind of an overview of what the challenge is to bring, what macros are, and what your task will be, because if we complete the tasks, The idea is the overall goal we'll get to is taking care of those small little steps. We build a house one brick at a time, guys. We don't just sit there and say, I want to lose 20 pounds, and then we don't build any bricks towards that house of losing 20 pounds. So if we can control the tasks that we do that will take us towards that goal every single day, we'll be much more successful, and that's the route we take with this challenge and using the app of Trainerize. So that's all. I'll wrap up with that. You'll go into a video here with Sabrina showing you how to work the apps.